All right, beginning of the May virtual meeting of the Hampton Ship Model Society. We've got a number of guests. First one is Bill Brown.
Yes, good morning, everybody. This is Bill Brown. I'm the current president of the Ship Model Society of New Jersey. Thanks for inviting me back today. Based on your lead, we actually had a very successful Zoom meeting at our April meeting. So I wanted to personally thank this club for being the pioneers here. We appreciate it. And I know we've got some folks now, I believe from Philadelphia Club, who want to do the same thing. Question for you, Greg. Do you know if they are still lifting the 40-minute limit, or are you guys now having to pay a fee at this point?
Well, we're not paying a fee. I think we're probably going to avoid that if we can. I'm not sure how much our budget will take. I think that at the end of our last meeting, they sent me an email saying, thanks for using Zoom. Your next meeting will have the thing lifted, but it's like a one-time thing.
Right.
So we may or may not have to adjourn this one early. I can't remember. To answer your question more directly, I think it's on a as they feel like it basis. It's not indefinite.
Okay. Thanks.
So
Great.
yeah, heads up for everyone. After 40 minutes, we may have to adjourn this meeting. If we want to continue, I'll just send out another invitation link. You can have a 40-minute meeting after 40-minute meeting after 40-minute meeting. There's no restriction on that.
Greg?
Yeah.
The cost for Zoom for the year with a whole bunch of features is about $150 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So the three clubs are going to use it a lot. They might want to split a membership.
Okay. Yeah. I guess there's nothing that would keep us from doing that, huh?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent suggestion, David.
Yep. Okay. Good one. I wouldn't have thought of splitting it up, but yeah, I guess we just can't have our meetings at the same time.
Yep.
Cool. Good idea. All right. DLG 26. Who is that?
All right, it's Don Good.
Hello, Don. Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm sorry I was late with the invitation.
Not a problem. Novice wooden model boat builder. I love Chesapeake Bay workboats. I'm a interpreter at the American Revolutionary War Museum in Yorktown, and I'm also a board member at the Matthews Maritime Foundation and a docent there also. So I'm just curious about the group, and I want to learn, and looks like it's going to be a nice thing to do.
All right. Well, yeah, glad to have you. Thanks for reaching out.
All right. Thank you.
Look forward to actually having you at a physical meeting at the museum someday.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. Going down the list here. Joshua.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Very good. Thank you.
This is Joshua Fishman here from my workshop, which is kind of a new experience to join a meeting this way in our abode. Yeah, I'm the secretary and webmaster for the Philadelphia Ship Model Society, and we're actually going to be doing our first Zoom meeting this Thursday. So I really wanted to sit in on this and see how one of these meetings kind of goes and try to apply some notes to our first meeting.
Okay, thanks for joining. Hope it helps. Let's see.
Todd from Philadelphia is also on.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Hey, y'all. I'm doing pretty much the same gig as Josh. Josh and I are sort of like, he's the webmaster, but we kind of put our heads together, not to draw too many hairs on our club, but we're not exactly the youngest bunch of chicks to hit the nest. So this, if you'd have told me 3-4 years ago we'd be trying to do an online streaming meeting with our members, I would have laughed in your face and probably continued. But I'm glad you guys brought this up, and it's worth a shot. So thanks a lot for leading the way. And like I said, I guess plagiarism is the biggest form of flattery at this point, right?
Yeah, well, we're certainly not the first ones that use Zoom. started with Gene, and his wife has an online group for writing, people who write books or stories, I think it is. And they'd been using it for a while, so he suggested we do it. And my wife's on a board, and they've been using it, so it's like, hey, why not? I'm pleasantly surprised how many of our people who claim to be technologically challenged have still managed to make this work. So kudos to everybody. I have someone who's just listed as new user. Oh, that's John Cheevers. Okay, he's new user. He's not a guest. Samsung. Oh, that's Pat Derby. Okay, he's not a guest. Tom. Say hello, Tom.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Second Hampton Roads meeting. Thank you for inviting us. Just echoing what Bill's saying, we're moving along pretty well with this. And David's suggestion about us getting together and sharing a membership is great. Just need to work on the logistics like that. But that sounds like a great idea. Mm-hmm. And the way it works right now, we meet on the fourth Tuesday. You folks meet on Saturday. And the Philadelphia Club meets on Thursday. So I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
That sounds real good. I think that's all of our guests. So last meeting, we made it very informal. We just chatted, swapped stories, showed shops and models and things like that. Don't know that this is an official meeting in that we can conduct business, but we'll go through the motions anyway. So from our members, is there any old business you'd like to discuss? I'm guessing this is going to be a short meeting. Okay, I see Rylan raising his hand. Go ahead. You need to unmute though, Rylan.
Okay, I just want to give a treasurer's report. We basically started the month out with $3,549.88, and no receipts, no expenditures. So that's our remaining balance. So the treasury is healthy. I've got about 17 people that I need to collect dues from, so I really haven't been pressing people right now because dues were due back in March, but with the COVID, I really didn't press anybody for dues, but I think that, if you haven't paid, I guess the thing to do is send an email out to those that haven't paid, and then we will get, hopefully, that caught up. Also, I'll be sending them refund checks on the banquet because I have no idea when we will be meeting again, and I know some of y'all have paid, and I think everybody that's paid is also paid their dues, so it's they'll be getting back the full cost of the banquet. So just expect those checks in the mail sometime next week. So that's the treasurer's report right now, and again, we're looking healthy, and don't really have any expenses that I know of in the future, so we should be in pretty good shape. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is anybody else talking, or everything sounds like it's going blank here?
We can hear you. It's chopped up,
Rick,
and your video's not
me?
moving, but you were understandable.
If you can hear me, wave your hand, because I can't hear anybody.
Oh, you can't? Okay. Yep. I'll send a chat. Just a moment, everyone, while I type a chat for him.
Okay.
I think part of his issue may be his bandwidth.
Yeah, he says he's got like Verizon, maybe even fiber optic. I don't. So it's kind of odd. We talked about that last month. So he did the treasurer's report.
Fine.
Okay. He did the treasurer's report. Normally after that we do webmaster's report, but I just sent out an email to everyone highlighting all the changes I've made over the last couple months. So I'll skip that for this meeting. I guess there wasn't any old business. How about new business?
If you'd raised the question about whether we can conduct business remotely, it might be worth looking at the bylaws to see if it's possible. And if not, we should probably revise the bylaws so we can.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to bring that up myself. I haven't looked at them yet. Have you?
Never seen them, but I know they exist.
Well, they used to be available on the website. I'm going to have to take care of that. They didn't make it over from the old website to the new one.
At the Jersey Club, we just did that with our constitution.
Okay. Yep.
Well, when our bylaws were written, I don't think the internet was around, was it?
They've been revised since the internet was established. So yeah, I think so.
Craig, this is Pat Derby. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Loud and clear, Pat.
Good. I'll keep my mouth shut and listen.
That's not necessary. Yeah. So, and I don't know. I'll look into that and figure out what the quorum is. If we have a quorum online, I think it should count as far as how many people we need in attendance to revise bylaws. But yeah, I'll look into that. And then we can also discuss whether to make Don's first meeting a retroactive one or not. Okay.
Greg, can you hear me?
Yeah. Who's speaking though? I can't tell.
To look at the bylaws for the changes we might need to make for.
Oh, I'm sorry. John, I couldn't figure out who was speaking. Can you repeat the question?
I said I'll go ahead and take that on as an action.
Oh, cool. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, I also missed the place where apparently I was supposed to put my name.
Oh, well, no problem. We understand New Year's are well enough. It's kind of a big red flag for you, huh?
Yeah. I'll write it on a piece of paper.
All right. Ryland said something about doing a presentation, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that with the bandwidth issues he's got going. We could jump into show and tell. Joshua started. We could go back and he could go over what he was doing before the recording started.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. And, I'm going to switch the camera around so that I'm facing. So this is my my shop that I've recently built. I'll try to pan slowly. I was originally working on Costco style desks that were fold out, and then I found these tanker style 60s desks, and they were originally mint green, and I repainted them. So now I'm consolidated out of toolboxes, and I've got plenty of build space. I've got this desk, and then I've got this 7-foot long table that I'm using. And this is a 150 scale black pearl out of wood. This is a D'Agostini designed kit. So the one side is cutaway. It's about 46 inches long when it'll be done. So the kit really didn't provide for very accurate rigging. So I am actually utilizing the anatomy of a ship of the Royal Star Line. I have a similar looking vessel and with a similar rig design. And so Can you guys still see me? Because I'm seeing somebody else walking.
I'll mute Pat.
Okay. So this is the scratch of the mast that I'm doing that's based off of that design, which has like the flag post to it and all. So I'm getting pretty close to having the hull done. I've got anchors. I'm working on anchors and ship's boats, and I got the rudder to do. But really it's coming down to now doing shrouds and, doing the masts and yards. So this whole side, as I said, is cut away. It came with some really nice metal casted etching. And then I'll turn it around here, and you can see the aft section here. So this whole model illuminates. There's about 40 LEDs in this. And then this is the other side of it. So I'm in the process of putting gun port lids on it and rigging them up. So this has been in process since October of 18.
What's the jig you've got your hand on there?
I forget who it's from. It's one of those like Czechoslovakian hobby things. I forget who it is. I have to look it up. But I think it's the same guy who does those module workshop shelving things. You know what I'm talking about? I think it's the same. If you've seen those, but if anybody's interested, I could try to find it again and send you the link.
How's it
It runs about. What's that?
How's it working for you? Do you recommend it?
It's been working okay. I think the material's a little chintzy because it's like that compressed cardboard. So I think this is my actual, you can see that it's kind of taking a bit of a beating in certain places. I like the options that it has. There's actually a whole lot of holding brackets there's actually a bracket for the front and the rear that if you wanted to, hold it fore and aft, it'll stabilize the model that way. But it's all made out of that sort of compressed cardboard. I think for the options, it's worth it. I just wouldn't anticipate a whole lot of longevity out of it. You certainly wouldn't want it to get it moist.
What's the part that's bolted down? What's the purpose of that?
The part that's bolted down. What are we talking
toward the stern quarter there.
Oh, this here?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just stabilizing it. So,
okay. I couldn't see the contact with it, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, it's just providing stabilization so that as I'm working on it, it doesn't swivel back and forth. It doesn't put too much stress on the keel.
Understood.
At the clamp. So
that was my first guess, but I thought I saw a gap there, so I wasn't certain.
Yeah. So it's been a fun project. It's a lot of I'm learning a lot because I'm having to scratch the whole rigging side of things, and I had to make some modifications to this. So this is all based off of the Disney movie Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't know how many of you have seen that movie, but for instance, one of the edits I had to make was, because I needed additional anchor points, was scratch building a fife rail around the main mast. They actually had a capstan that was encircling the mast. I've never seen a ship that would have had that. To me, it was just too unrealistic. But the other cool thing, and I'll show you a couple other things. Here's a few of the other features I have left to put on. This is the figurehead for the ship. And then these pieces here are actually, let me see.
You realize you're talking about Pirates of the Caribbean and unrealistic in the same sentence.
Yeah. Let me get the wire out of the way. But
that's nice.
But yeah, but the overall, details that came with the kit were actually really impressive to me. So
that looks fun.
Definitely is. Yeah, it's been good.
Thank you. Any other show and tells?
Oh, I guess
Tim's got his hand up. I saw Tim first.
I got last week I started work on a steam box, and I finished it yesterday. And here it is, made out of red cedar, so it'll outlive me. And I had it hooked up and running, and came up to 212, and it's everything I asked for. So use the Rockler plans for it. They just give you general plans. You can make it any size you want. This one's 3 foot long. So that's what I've been doing in the lockdown. So.
Cool. I made one out of PVC pipe, and I put some pear in there and steamed it for, I swear it was 45 minutes for just a really thin piece, and it would not bend at all afterwards. I don't know if there's plenty of steam going in there. It's pouring out the other end of the box, so maybe pear just doesn't bend well. I don't know.
Wow.
The pear bends pretty well. I've just kind of switched to heat bending stuff without the steam and without the moisture, and it seems to be working okay for me. I just did that on the keel for the boat that I'm building.
How do you apply the heat?
Just take a big bending iron in a vise and then manipulate the wood over the end of the bending iron.
How thick of a piece were you working
The
with?
one that I just did, let me grab it for you, 1/8 inch. So.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Chuck Pizarro uses a travel iron, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like Greg. I made one out of PVC, and I hooked it to a one of those floor steam cleaning arrangements, but it pours out some nice steam, and it works real well. But I also do the heat bending with the soldering iron, and this is just representative, but I'll put a little brass sleeve over that thing if I can, so that you've got the ability to roll the wood. And that seems to
Tom
work
mentioned
well too.
the traveling iron. Here's mine. Just a little guy, but it works great.
Well, to add one more to it, I used a lady's hair curling iron, which I found to be very useful because it does not overheat the wood. I just get the wood wet and bend it over the iron.
Hey, Greg, question
Yes, sir.
for you. I can't share because you have disabled that feature. I think you need to go into the share screen properties and click that people can share, everyone can share. I think that's a host function.
Right now it's set to 1 participant can share at a time.
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay, I see it. Yep.
So I think if you click all, then it will, yeah, there you go. Perfect. All right, oh, that's fine. I'll wait my turn.
Who can start sharing when someone else is sharing? Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. All right, cool. Any other shows and tells?
Well, I guess I'll do that then.
Go
I
ahead.
have some photos to show of the progress of the Olympia. Let me navigate to that page. There we go. I presume that you're able to see that at this point, correct?
I can see it, yes.
Okay, then I'm broadcasting.
Nice.
All right, well, this represents the Olympia as it was last night. I'm progressively making, lots of little parts, mostly working on the forecastle area, anchors and so forth. I've got the foredeck pretty much fleshed out now, lots of little things. As the model is going to be displayed, I'll have one anchor tethered and the other one will be in the water, so that there'll be just a variety of scenes going on. You can see I've done a lot of the bits and pieces. A lot of it's all scratch built at this point. The brass work, the anchors, the chain is actually photo etched, not photo etched, 3D printed chain, which I was able to obtain. Very nice looking chain. Picture of the quarterdeck area, just kind of showing bits in the pieces that are there. There's there's the sounding machine, which I'm not sure how it would have been rigged, but it looked something pretty much like that. And it just would have a tether out to a pulley and then just stream behind. I'm not sure why I put it on, but since the boat's going to be at anchor, they probably wouldn't have had it out. But it's a nice part to make there anyway. Just some deck scenes, the photo etched stairs, ladders, and chains, the fire hoses, and things like that. There's endless parts that are going on it at this point, and this is the slowest part of the build because I'll just look at a picture and find a part I need to make, and and go from there. Just one time. Yeah, go ahead.
Is the entire project scratch built, or is any part?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
wow, okay.
I do all my own photo etching, casting, resin casting. Every once in a while, I'll purchase a part like this barrel kind of peeking out there from the corner. That was a 3D printed. The chain was 3D printed. Figures obviously were 3D printed, but most everything else, the railing, chain obviously I bought, but everything else is pretty much scratch. It's kind of hard to go out to the hobby store and buy Olympia parts in 1/4" scale. So.
That rope looked really good. Did you make that, or where did you get it from?
No. Actually, that came from I think Siren.
Okay.
The hose is amazing.
Yeah, beautiful rope. Here's a picture of some of the hose reels, fire hose reels, and a dime there to give you scale. Now, to make the hose reel, the hoses themselves, what I did, I took a piece of solder and squished it in a roller, flattened it out, and then just rolled it up on the reels. It worked out real well. And you can pick the scale of your hose by the diameter of the solder. And that worked out well. I guess there's any number of ways to do that. This seemed to be the quickest and easiest for me to do. And then just the placement of some of the parts. Here is some of the awning frames that go over the hatchways and things. They're all soldered up with brass and then fitted in position. I'm not going to put any awnings on them. I don't want to hide the work, but I don't know. Maybe I'll have them kind of rolled up and stuffed in a corner or something. I don't know. I haven't decided. I'm making this stuff up as I go along. I have to find out where all my mistakes and errors are before I start deciding exactly where I want to coil all the ropes and awnings and and pile everything on.
What about the skylight, the conical skylight that I saw earlier?
Yeah, the conical skylight. That was all done in brass. Let me see if I can jump back to that real quick.
Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to. A little late on the question.
No, that's all right. That's all right. This one you're talking about. Yeah, that was soldered up with photo etched brass frames, which I made, and they have like maybe 10,000s, 15,000s holes etched into them, and then I threaded, I think 5 or 4,000s brass rod around it and soldered it all up.
Wow.
And then there's individual glazing in between, triangular glazes that fit between each of the frames. Yeah, I mean, it was tedious work, but
Great result though. Yeah, I have a blue jacket kit for the Olympia that I'm looking to get.
Very good.
So
okay, I think I was about here.
I see load.
My 100-year-old cat. Yeah, anyway, this is going down into the admiral and captain's areas, and of course they have their own separate little entrance as usual. And this is up on the bow, going down into the cruise areas. Yeah, they at anchor, I guess they all had awnings constantly just hung there just to keep the shade out. I mean, the sun out. Here are some of the anchor rigging and the anchor release mechanism that I made up. Again, it's all a soldered bits and pieces of brass and appropriately sized chain. Since this anchor has been deployed, we can just screw the chain on so keep out of the way. And the way it works is it's pretty simple. There's a close up of it. The chain hooks on the hook there. There's a tether, a lock if you want. Right there.
Hey, Gene?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Go again.
Yeah. This
all did everyone else have the audio really scrambled, or was it just me?
No, I had it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But when you stopped, it reset somehow, so that's good.
Okay. Well, this is a close-up of the anchor release mechanism. This arm, it connects to a pin. You pull that, the whole bar rotates, and obviously you can see the chain hooked will just release, and then the chain just falls. Then the anchor just falls away, I suppose, or at least releases it from being tethered to the ship.
Hey, Gene, I need to interrupt just for a second.
Sure.
We're just going to keep going, but we're getting on close to 40 minutes. So if all of a sudden it just shuts down, everyone know that I'll send out an invitation to rejoin. But we'll wait to see if we get kicked out or not. We'll just keep going.
Yeah, I think all you have to do is just rejoin the meeting using the same login.
Oh, the same link will work? Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's how it works.
We'll try that.
Yeah.
We'll try that.
Tom, forward it to me in case I don't get it.
Anyways, that's a close-up of the anchor release, and there's some spare anchors on deck, chained down, obviously, and there's the bell that was turned just out of brass, and I painted it. It wasn't really, it was a silver color, so I don't know what it would have been made of. What would it, maybe steel? It wouldn't have been a steel bell, would it? I don't know. Just close-ups of the little and there's the 100-year-old cat, and that's pretty much it for the Olympia.
Are you posting pictures of your Olympia anywhere, like on Model Ship World or anything like that? Anywhere online that I could reference them later?
I haven't yet. I intended to. I have a website which I post all my models to, and when I had finished the model, then I would kind of put a formal presentation together. But no, I do not have an in progress update of the Olympia as of yet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I mean, you have a lot of great details in there, and if you didn't mind a little plagiarism, I'd love to try to replicate it on my own when I get to the Blue Jacket kit myself.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is a bit larger than the Blue Jacket kit, so I can, you can obviously afford to get into the minutia like that. The Blue Jacket kit, what is that? Is that an 1/8 inch, maybe?
Yeah, I think the hull's about 36 inches long.
Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't preclude you from going down that rabbit hole, but I think the task would be infinitely more difficult.
Yeah, I mean, you have to pick and choose as the scale gets smaller, what you can actually
absolutely
try to represent.
Gene, that's an exquisite model. I mean, those photographs, one of the things that's interesting with photographs is as you take them, they're typically zoomed in quite a bit. So if anything's not particularly 100%, it'll show right up. I have to tell you, I think I'm walking down the deck of the real ship. It's a beautiful model, my friend. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, absolutely. That's the chief reason that I take a lot of detailed pictures like that. I use the camera as a tool to check my work. And you're absolutely right. Things that aren't true or not balanced, and you get perspectives that the eye just refuses to see or accept.
It's a wonderful model. Beautiful.
Tom, I was thinking the exact same thing because every time I try to take close-up shots of my models, I'm like, oh God, I can't post that.
Well, yeah, when you start getting into the grain of the paint and stuff, then yeah, I'll usually put a Gaussian blur over that.
Yeah, it starts looking like noodle art.
Yeah, but I was pretty impressed at how your model stood the test of that.
Well, thank you.
So, Gene, do you think you'll have it done by August 1st?
Of this year? Oh, no, not a chance. Maybe August of next year.
All right. So maybe you'll be willing to bring it. Maybe you'll be willing to bring it down to the battleship then.
Yeah, there's a there's a ton of work. I mean, I haven't even started on the boats. I mean, and all of that. You know, that's going to be the end of me, I think. I'm done.
Okay.
Great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I go next?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so I'm working on the 1/16th scale Oyster Bay Sharpie that's from the NRG plans. And last month I showed 2 jigs, and I'm not that much further along because I found all sorts of problems that I'm in the process of sorting out. So there's 2 jigs. This is what they call jig number 2. And it's basically, the boat's a flat bottom boat, curved front to back, flat side to side. So this is used as a press to make the keel in the right shape. And then once you're building, the model sits on this. So this curve is really important. And in this jig, it's easy to get right because it's one line that you cut along. And then there's this other jig that they call jig 1. And this is the former one that looks like when they designed it was to be a mold to actually build the rest of the ship. And what they say is cut out the section templates and then, you know, glue them in place, shim them so you get a smooth curve this way and a smooth curve this way. And the way I'm pretty sure they designed it to be the mold is they actually give angles for beveling all the sides. It doesn't work as designed for 2 reasons. One is when they say it's got to follow a smooth curve, it's got to follow a really specific smooth curve, which it doesn't. These 2 need to match up, and they don't. When I built the keel and put it on here, you can see where I started to shim up and stuff because there were areas that were so much higher than it. And then when you put this over the plan side to side, it didn't line up with the curve of the ship at all. So I have since built the keel, which I showed you, and then started from scratch on this. And this time you can see the curve works. This is supposed to lay a little bit above so that when, and I'm going to put chines on the side and then glue the planks across to build the base. And then I've redone this so that these actually match the curve on the side and follow a smooth curve as well. So hopefully I can use this as a mold and actually do the planking upside down like the real ships were built and make sure it comes out the same shape as the plans actually do. So I'm getting closer. When I did the scores for this morning, and it follows the curve and it's right above the, you know, about a 32nd above. Have to work on the chine slots later on, which will be a little bit tricky to keep everything coplanar. But I think once I get to that point, it should be pretty straightforward building.
Great, thank you.
That's pretty cool. One of my first model kits was the Sharpie from Midwest, and it was a really enjoyable build. It's a really nice looking boat when it's done.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I mean, the plans are great, and the instructions, once they get past the planking of the hull, look, you know, really good. But it's pretty clear that when they were, you know, the design and then the way they executed the ones that they built ended up being different than the way they planned. But it's also really different than anything I've ever built before. I haven't built anything over molds or anything. So this is going to be a new experience.
Great.
So how's your shop, Dave? You got it all together?
Good. You know, I've started to spend some time down here over the last couple of weeks, but it's, you know, I'm getting used to it. Been in here about a year, but lighting's great, electrical's great. We moved to a new house a year ago, so I got to remodel a third of the basement into my shop. It's not very level. That's taken a little bit of getting used to get the tools all set up.
Oh, I know when we toured it last time, you were talking about getting some more equipment. I was wondering if you'd been able to upgrade it yet, or if you just...
No, I have just been enjoying using what I have, and it's for what I'm building right now, I shouldn't need any more equipment. I've been thinking about getting a planer so that when I mill my own wood, I can have a flat surface and stuff like that.
Oh, you can never have too many tools.
I know that. I know that. It's an addiction, but it's better than other addictions.
Good.
Actually, if anyone has recommendations on a joiner planer that doesn't weigh 250 pounds and will work for boxwood and pear, I'd love to hear it.
As an aside, things are calming down a little bit for you out there work-wise, or?
Actually, no, because we went from dealing with the emergency to all of a sudden figuring out how we reopen and do it in a safe way. And that's been just as much work as figuring out how to care for COVID patients.
Sure.
And the other thing that's happened since we started screening is we're discovering we're taking care of a fair number of, patients who are asymptomatic at the time they come in to deliver, but have COVID and then get sick within a few days. So not as crazy as it was 6 or 8 weeks ago, but still really, really busy.
Well, hang in there.
Oh, planning on it. But thanks for asking.
I thought you might shoot him for asking.
Nope.
All right. Any other shows or tells?
Yes, this is Kevin. I just have a new acquisition I picked up off of eBay. I don't know if y'all can see this. Yeah. Sorry, my camera doesn't seem to be picking it up.
Is that the Roger Taney?
Yes, it is. It's bigger than I thought. I've been wanting it for several years.
Turn off your virtual background, and then it'll be able to see it.
You're going to see the junk in the room then.
Well, then we'll be able to see the picture you showed.
Like none of us have junk.
We can see half the junk already anyway. Your background's only covering up half of your bookshelves or whatever's there.
Yeah.
If you have pinups, we'd like to see those too.
Well,
this is being
if
recorded
I can find
now.
out how to get to the settings right now.
It's under where it says stop video. For me, it's on the bottom left. The camera, it says stop video, and there's an up arrow. The up arrow lets you go to choose virtual background.
All right.
Yep.
Looks better?
You got it
All
now.
right. All right, let's see. It's the Roger Taney from Dicker. Found it on eBay. It was relisted 3 times and nobody bidding on it. So I'd been wanting it for several years. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and got it. Got a lot cheaper than I'd ever seen it listed before.
So did you inventory it to make sure that it's all there?
As not completely, I looked through it and all the plan sheets are there. The parts, cardboard thing with all the parts is all there. It's still sealed. Actually, all of the wood is still wrapped up in the original packaging.
So it looks pretty undisturbed.
Yeah, and
I'm not familiar with the name of the boat, and the camera didn't show the image very well. So what is it exactly? What type of boat?
It is
a revenue cutter.
Okay, gotcha.
It's a Morris Taney revenue cutter, class revenue cutter. It was built in 1833. there was, I think, 12 of them built. A couple were built at the Washington Navy Yard, and the rest were built at the Webb Hall Yard in New York City, which eventually became the William Webb Shipyard. It's said that it was designed by William Webb himself. There's no real proof of it. Yeah. So, but it's also, I'm from Texas, so there's also some historical relations to Texas in that. The sister ship was the Samuel Ingham, which eventually became the flagship of the First Texas Navy. And that's probably what it was armed, it was almost identical to the Roger Taney. So I'll probably build it as that, as the Independence.
Who's the kit manufacturer?
Dickar. I think they've been out of business for a good long time now.
Mm-hmm.
Those were really great cutters, by the way. The Morris class is probably one of the finest sailing ships ever. If you go up to Massachusetts, they built a full-size version, and it's called the Shenandoah. It's a direct off plans.
Which one? What's the what was that one?
The vessel's called the Shenandoah, and she was actually taken directly from the plans of the Morris class.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Blue Jacket makes a good one too. The Jefferson revenue cutter, a very good model.
Yeah, the Jefferson, I think, was built in 1840. It was shortly after. It was the follow-on to this class.
Mm-hmm.
I've got that kit in my closet, and then there's a replica in San Diego, the Californian. So anyone that has the Jefferson kit, if they want to see something that's built based off of that, you can go to San Diego.
Mm.
The Taney was a really, obviously the follow-on cutter, which is in Baltimore, Roger Taney, which is, the namesake. So that had a really storied history. So the name Taney is, kept alive pretty well.
Actually, this kit probably would have never been made except for the Roger Taney in Baltimore because of its history. People looked into the name, and of course, that's why they created the kit.
Not a notable namesake as far as that guy goes, and, from a political correctness standpoint.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a model just finished up here recently. I'll switch over the camera here. Okay. Yeah, I just finished up the Niagara just a couple of weeks ago, and just finished putting it on the mounting board, the brass plate, and so forth. This trying to remember the name of the company. That I think this is the model Shipways model. It came out pretty well, I think. Fairly good detail. The rigging, I threw all the rigging that came with the kit away and went with the rigging that I buy through Blue Jacket, like usual. I think it's much cleaner. And then following up on it, just started the planking on the Royal Caroline just about 2 weeks ago. I think Pat just finished this portion of the Royal Caroline. It's a pretty good model, a lot larger than I thought it was to begin with. It's from the kit that I bought through one of the auctions, actually. Good model. You're talking about the Blue Jacket Olympia. That's what this one is right here. It was on display there in the taco stand for a while. And when I finished up a couple of years ago,
Constitution. That's fully coppered.
Is that from Blue Jacket as well?
It is, yes. And there's another model, Shipways model, finished up not too long ago. I think I brought that into the club.
What's that one?
This one, Prince Neuchâtel.
You and I should talk, because I got stuck on that model and I switched over to Pearl. So I have one of those in progress.
Okay, good. It's not bad. I find that some of the fittings are a little bit crude, but
yeah. So it's funny because I actually got a siren kit for model Shipways that was somebody had started the hull and then gave up on it. But
yes.
most of the other details are still there, and
Yes.
I've actually started to I mean, it's the same ship from the same era. You know, there's a lot of similarities between the Neuchâtel and the Siren. I've actually kind of been blending the two together.
Yeah. Again, though, the rigging, I find the rigging that came with the model was not very good quality. So it really kind of muddies it up a little bit. So by switching over to the cotton that I purchased through Blue Jacket, it makes a much cleaner finish, I think. Much cleaner.
I see the picket boat back there, which is another one I built.
Yeah, that one. And I had that half hull of Victoria, or Victoria was on display there in the museum for a little while.
How did you like that? I've got a Constitution midsection. How do you like those half hull things?
Love it. It was a lot of fun to build. And because you're concentrating on one portion of the ship, you can pay a great deal of attention to the details and so forth. And since it's relatively simple, you know, the details really stand out. They really do. A lot of patience on the painting and so forth, but it does give you a chance to really concentrate on the details.
Yeah, seen on the inside, I thought was probably the coolest feature of that, to see how
They're
ships
very
are
nifty.
kind of built.
Very nifty. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
John, did you post any pictures of the Neuchâtel on like, are you on Model Ship World or anything like that?
I have not yet, and I discovered that some of the photos that I had been furnishing were not very good quality. So I have to take a lot of photos here, and I'm going to be sending them to Greg. It looks like I'm going to need technical assistance from my daughter in order to get this right.
Okay.
That's it.
Nice. I have that same Panhard kit of the Royal Caroline in my closet, and that's what kind of gave me the inspiration to get the anatomy of a ship. And now I'm basically trying to apply its rigging to the Black Pearl. So it's actually kind of a practice run for when I get to that model.
Yes.
I've done all the homework on it, and I've gotten a little crazy, kind of like, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys know who Ron Nielsen is. When he built that Swan, you know, he put the 8 sets of running rigging for each sail, you know, the bunt lines, the clue lines, and all that. So for every sail I'm trying to set on the Pearl, I'm trying to replicate that.
Yeah.
Right. John had asked about my workshop. If people don't mind it being done on a computer camera, I'm happy to show it.
Of course.
Sure. Content's great.
So this is the basement of a house, and it's kind of 3 separate sections. This one, which is where I do most of my shipbuilding, and I have no idea what you're seeing out of the camera while I'm showing.
Can you point it down a little bit?
How's
There
that?
you go. But that's better for me. I don't know about anybody else.
Yep, that's good.
All right,
I was just seeing the ceiling before.
Oh, sorry. That's not very helpful. But I got 2 tables to assemble things on, and then a bunch of tables with small power tools. And then this side is where I do the stuff that generates a lot of dust. Table saw, band saw, scroll saw, thickness sander. It's nice. It's kind of got 3 rooms, but they're all connected. And then over here where I do plastic model stuff.
Wow. It's a nice amount of space.
It's
Nice
been,
spray booth.
How's
Yeah.
the humidity there, being down in the basement?
So it's been fine. The house is air conditioned, and so that's it worked well. And also it's been completely dry. I've had no problem with water penetration. So it's all been really good for that. And it's a little bit bigger than the one that I moved out of. It's actually a little bit smaller, but because it's all connected, the space is more usable.
So what are you using for lighting down there?
So I had a whole bunch of halogen lights put in so that they look like fluorescents. It was a completely unfinished basement before, so it's a 1913 fan row house, so it had knob and tube wiring. So we had the whole thing. We basically gutted it. So I had, they put in outlets every 6 feet or so down here and installed lights all over the place.
So, if I can make a suggestion, if you're looking for some really strong lighting, I've been looking into commercial lighting, like things that people would use in the warehouse. So if you're curious to see it, I don't mean to hijack your show, but let's see here, flip around. I actually built this light, which is a 35,000 lumen light. It's a 240 watt LED light. Draws 2 amps. So, and then I built this swing arm out of 3/4 inch black steel so that I can move it around. And to make it a little bit more livable, I've actually got a little dimmer knob in here because otherwise it gives you a suntan. But when I flip it on, it's pretty bright. I mean, that's actually dimmed down.
Yeah, and that looks awesome, especially because it looks like you can direct it. I don't think the video picks it up very well, but I'm sitting under 3 of these halogen lights. So even with magnification, I can see, even with an optimizer on, I can see what I'm doing really, really well. I suspect the camera's dimming it a little bit.
Oh yeah, probably. But I'm just saying that the LED technology is crazy in terms of the amount of light you can get for a lot less power than, the older technology.
Yeah, I think I said halogen by accident, but I'll see if I can tip it up so that you can actually see. But I don't know if you can see that, but they're LED lights, and there's 3
Oh,
of them.
they're LEDs. Okay, there you go.
I figured the halogen was keeping you warm down in the basement, but
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to talk about my lighting, so I didn't.
If it was halogen, it'd probably be 200 degrees down there.
Yeah.
They're like grow lights.
Well, he's in the basement. It's cooler. He might need that heat. I don't know.
Well, the heater's in the workshops and the hot water heater, so that throws off plenty of heat in the winter.
Sure.
Well, the funny thing about lighting is you put lights on your desk, or you put lights, over cabinets and this and that, and you're still on the shadow side of what you're trying to work on. Like, I need the light to be behind me because that's what I'm looking at. Usually like a shadow on your side of the ship.
You kind of need it over both shoulders so you're not casting the shadow yourself.
I'd love the OR lights so I can have 3 of them coming from different directions.
Well, that's, it's funny is a buddy of mine bought an old 75 Land Rover from a pretty eccentric guy down in Center City, Philly. And he had an old OR light. And that's been my inspiration with, like, when I built with this is, it's like, you try to buy a real OR light, it's going to cost you thousands of dollars. But I've been trying to replicate that. I've been on a mission to sort of have one myself.
Anything else?
Yeah. Greg, I guess Zoom didn't throw us out, huh?
No, it did not.
That's good news.
So I hope you guys don't mind me, hijacking your meeting. In terms of the content that I've shared and
absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's nice to have guests and we can talk about this stuff all together. I see Gene on the screen right now, and I've been intending to go back to we started out by welcoming guests. Gene's a member, so he's not really a guest, but I wanted to recognize him anyway, since he's all the way down in Louisiana. Welcome back.
I'm what you'd call a geographically isolated member.
Yeah.
What part of Louisiana?
New Orleans.
I lived in New Orleans for about 6 months down in Kenner.
Yeah, Kenner is like about 20 miles out of town.
Well, I thought it was closer to 10, but we were basically the last exit off of I-10. When you're coming out of, I guess you'll call it an island. What part of New Orleans?
Right now I'm living on the West Bank. We used to live in Bayou St. John.
Okay.
We moved to a retirement home here about 6 months ago. So you guys have a few minutes. I'll show you what you can accomplish with a real downsizing. We moved from a house into a little 800 square foot apartment and managed to set up both our workshops. My wife is a fiber person, so fortunately she's tolerant of somebody with my proclivities. So if you have a couple of minutes, I'll give you a quick tour. Greg, would that be okay?
Yeah, I've got time. Yep.
Okay, let me switch the camera around. And we'll take a tour. I'm in our living room right now and on our dining room table. I just rebuilt my rope machine, so I've been making rope. That's what, unfortunately, the downsizing involves shorter rope because my old machine was quite a bit heftier and I used it in the garage and I had 22 feet of garage, so I could make rope that was 17, 18 feet long. So now I'm limited to the table length, so it comes out about 5 feet. And then there are a couple of models in here, older models. And then the spare bedroom is our workshop. So there's my workbench. And to the side is shelves to the ceiling and a closet with all the supplies in it, all organized and labeled for the first time in my entire life. And then models ended up in strange places. There's these are all the radio control models, the PT boats, the Vesuvius, and they're on the website if anybody's interested, on the Ship Model Builders website. The big one is about 5 feet long, and it spent its time in the bayou before we moved over here. Current projects are a couple of steamboats. The nearer one is a little steam packet, the kind of boat that worked the smaller tributaries of the Mississippi. It'll be a companion piece to the Natchez, which is out in the main lobby now. And the one behind it is going to be a towboat from about 1920, the Destrehan. And I've got the interior, I've got the boilers and the engines and all that sort of stuff modeled, and I'm just going to put the deck on it, start on the cabins, and that's where I am with the packet. I work on one and I switch over and work on the other. They're going to be static models. They're not going to be radio controlled. The Natchez originally was to be radio controlled. It's all full of LED lights and stuff like that, but I never activated them when I switched it over to a static model. And I did that because we didn't have a room in our place for it. And so I persuaded the authorities here to let me display it in their lobby. So it became a static model. And with any luck at all, I can palm these two steamboats off on them too. The other thing that's in here is the anchor hoy, the diorama of the anchor hoy retrieving a lost anchor. And that, again, that's also on the website. So that's kind of what we have. I'd show you my stash of lumber, but it's in a shoebox and it's in the closet. And it's all boxwood from a boxwood at a neighbor's house when I lived in Virginia. He asked me to cut his boxwood down because he was landscaping. So I told him I'd do it in exchange for the wood, which is what I did, and I still have it. There's the Constitution diorama. That's also on the website. And then back there is the Vandalia sloop from 1825. Out in the patio, there's a little storage closet. It's about 3 feet by 5 feet, and that has all my machine tools and other supplies and things like that. So we actually managed to fit it all in. So that's that. That's the quick tour. All the models are scratch built if anybody's interested.
Love the interior detail that you made on the steam lines. It's awesome.
Well, yeah, I do all my models that way. You know, like the sailing ship models, I'll furnish a captain's cabin and that sort of thing. And then with the steam vessels, like with the Natchez, all the detail was there. The engines worked and the pistons moved when the paddle, it was electric power, and the power went to the paddle wheels, and then they secondarily drove the pistons in the steam engines, and it had 8 boilers and firewood and all that was there for somebody to discover when in the future they take it apart.
That sounds like Gene's Olympia.
Yeah, I think I was inspired. I went to the Naval Academy and toured the Rogers collection, spent some time with Bob Summerall at the model shop there. And he was a fellow that had worked with the folks, I think from National Geographic, that did the endoscopic look into the interior of these ships from the 1600s and found them completely furnished inside and actually signed by the men who had made them. And all the detail that they had put into the ship would never have been seen again. I guess they anticipated the invention of the endoscope, but that was my inspiration. There's something fun about doing that, to do something that ends up being invisible.
You can hide a lot of mistakes that way. That's what I do.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know, you don't know when you furnish the captain's cabin, you may not quite get his tastes right in terms of his writing desk or his bed or the bed covers or the quilt or whatever. So who's going to know?
Or even the sheet music he likes to play, you know?
I never quite, I do everything in 1:64 scale, so you can compare the size of the boats easier. So I've never bothered with the sheet music.
Well, unfortunately, I went down that rabbit hole, never to be seen again.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun.
The anchor hoist is great too. That boat, those classes of ships never get made, so that's great.
Yeah, that model is, the hull is from a plan I found in the National Archives 25 years ago. And then the rigging was sort of constructed using information from Grimwood and other sources and kind of figuring out the way it might have been done. But it's a more interesting, there's a plan in Grimwood for an anchor hoy. And I built one over that plan many, many years ago, and it was sold off years ago. This hull was actually a little bit more interesting and had a huge water tank in it. So I never figured out what it was for, whether it was also a water hoy or whether it was somehow counterballast for the heavy anchor and the bow davit. But I didn't put any water in it, so I never know.
Well, if I could say something for the benefit of our guests, someone had asked earlier whether I had posted any of the Olympia progress photos online. As a shameless plug, I do have a website which I have published all of my build logs and you know, photos of past projects that have been finished. So I mean, and this is where the Olympia will eventually end up too when I finish it. But if you're interested, it's geneberger-models.com. and that's my personal site, and all my build logs are on it. So if you're interested, enjoy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
If you don't remember that one and you end up on our site and look at any of Gene's models, there are links from our site to his web pages for each model that we have.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, you could do that too. Either way.
Yeah, and I also have a little website and sort of a builder's blog about several of the models. But I think, Greg, you also have links to that on the site.
Yes. Yep.
Good.
And yeah, where I've known about them, I've also linked our members' sites to Model Ship World build logs. I'm sure I don't have all of them. So if you have a Model Ship World build log or gallery that's not on our website, let me know and I'll add that.
What are you using? WordPress for the website?
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought our website back from the dead, and I'm an accountant by trade, and really I don't have a whole lot of interest in website development, but you know, I was the only one who was kind of willing to at least do something to have it be a place where people can get information and know that we're alive over here. But maybe I could reach out to you offline and we can kind of, you know, if I have any questions.
Sure. I'm a programmer, but web programming is a whole different ball of wax than what I do on a normal basis, but it at least gives me a leg up. But it's different languages and different things, so I'm learning a lot myself. For years, we were using a different software called Tiki. And what was nice about that was that it's all with WordPress, you have the core program and then you pull in your extras. And with Tiki, it was all built in, so all you had to do was configure it. You didn't have to say, oh, I want to do this, which extra do I go out and find? And there's 10 of them. So which of those 10 is the best one? You didn't have to go through those decisions. But I ended up hitting some brick walls, and it was harder to do certain things, and they're a sliver of the overall pie compared to WordPress. So if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, no one was going to be able to pick up the Tiki site, whereas there's millions of WordPress people. So that's the reason I chose WordPress, is basically it'd be easiest to hand it off to somebody else if that came to it. But
yeah, I think the thing I'm struggling with the most is trying to make it scalable for when somebody's looking at it on different, you know, screens. Like if they're looking at it on their phone or their iPad. On my computer screen, it looks great. But when you go to visit the website on a smartphone, things don't look as good.
Using WordPress or something else?
No, I'm using WordPress, and I'm using Elementor as a plugin to help.
Yeah. Well, for us, WordPress has done that scaling for us pretty well, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does it automatically, but it needs some tweaking to, you know, there's some things you can do to make it work. You know, you could pick different views in terms of what view you're working in. Like I said, I'm just not all that. I have to go and watch YouTube videos on how to do everything.
I haven't spent a lot of time focusing on cell phones. So when I've used mine, it's been okay, but maybe there's some areas that need to be improved.
Well, you know,
I'm presuming most people viewing it are going to be on a desktop or a tablet or something. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been on our website recently, but if you have a few minutes and you want to take a quick look, and if you have any, there are certain pages that are set up in the menus that aren't yet built out, because I have a 2-year-old and I work full time, so I and I do want to build my model at times.
Well, yeah, that's I fall into the habit of working on the website instead of my models because it's like the path of least resistance, but I really need to get back into the shop. I did a little bit of work since our last meeting, but far too little to bother bringing out my model for show and tell. Basically, nothing's changed. So that's about it. I'm going to go back to our discussion on steam boxes for a second. one of the things I struggled with was what I was going to use for a steam source. You guys seeing my screen?
Yeah, it looks fine.
So I was looking for hot plates or burners or whatever, and I was wandering through Goodwill looking for something completely unrelated, and I saw this old pressure cooker, and the valve was missing on the top. So it wasn't any good as a pressure cooker, but that thing's threaded. Does it come out? And sure enough, you could just unscrew it by hand. And I said, well, I can go, if that's a standard fitting, I can just buy a tube fitting and put it in there instead. So I thought I'd be able to do next photo. I need to get so this is what I ended up with. I just went to Ace Hardware and bought brass fitting that threaded right in there and some tube, and that was cheap and easy. I think I paid $5 for the pressure cooker and maybe 50 cents for the fitting. This is the thermometer for my smoker, so I can validate that it's holding the heat. But yeah, I think I'll keep steaming it, and then it'll be nice and wet and hot, and then I'll apply an iron to it and kind of combine both of them. Being steamed first hopefully will help with using an iron as a heat source.
How did Barry let
Do
you
this
out?
when my wife's not in the kitchen, obviously.
I was just going to ask, how did you get out of your room?
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? All right, cool. Well, hey, we've been at this for almost an hour and a half. So
Where's lunch?
yeah, that's the downside, right? No smoke, no Rick and Libby's, no County Grill.
So have you guys been paying attention at all to the model con that I'm trying to put together down at the Battleship?
Have not heard about it. Tell us.
Oh, okay. So we did it last year, last September. We kind of threw it together kind of quick, and it was actually pretty cool. So Todd and I kind of brainchild this thing. We were coming back from the last Northeast conference. It's just that, and I think all of us kind of suffer this, that it's tough to get new membership. It's tough to get the word out. It's tough to introduce people to what we do and to kind of spawn it. I mean, with the hobby shops all disappearing, it's hard for, people to even be aware that this exists. And, one of the shortfalls that Todd and I kind of felt, and I'm not trying to speak for Todd, but there's not a lot of foot traffic from the general public coming into the Northeast Conference to look at the models or to check out what we do. So we put together a model con last September, and we were kind of lucky that the Seaport Museum had a small room for us to use, and the North Jersey Club joined in, and we had a couple people from the Delaware Valley Scale Modelers, but it's really kind of a joint thing. And I've also been in touch with the DC Club, and they're very interested. And
Josh,
really,
actually, Ryland was there.
Ryland was there last year, yeah. So anyway, I'll kind of try to shorten this up a bit. The space that we had at the museum was small and limited, and not only that, has now become unavailable. But one of our members became a tour guide on the Battleship, New Jersey, and the curator mentioned to him that he'd like to get us over there to do a show. And then so I met with the guy, and he wants to make it an annual event. And you could bring your banner and hang it on the side. I mean, he's like really rolling out the red carpet for us and treating it as if we're doing him a favor, when really he's also kind of doing us a favor. And on an average day, the Battleship sees about 500 visitors a day. And where we would initially, he offered us a couple of places. Right now, we're picking to use the officers' wardroom. It has 4 or 5 extremely large tables. He wants to see people there working on models if possible. Finished models are good. but there's plenty of display space. It's right on the main deck of the ship, so there's an elevator access to it. So nobody's going to have to climb any stairs or companionways with their models. There's a bathroom really close on site. He's offered free lunch at the mess deck, which is, probably like ballpark kind of food. But it's really exciting, that to kind of have a model show that's open to the general public and really just be able to interact with the general public. So I'm really excited about it. And, with the COVID thing, it's a little questionable about whether or not it's going to go through or not, because having a bunch of people pass by another bunch of people is exactly what we're trying to avoid right now. But hopefully, what's that?
When is it scheduled to be?
August 1st. It's actually posted on our website. There's a banner at the bottom. It's the PSMS ModelCon, and so we're hoping to get good participation out of it, and honestly have it become as big a deal as the Northeast Conference and as I think that event is, and also be able to have it incorporate some of the other clubs that can't make it to the Northeast Conference because they're just too far south.
Are you located in Philadelphia?
I live in South Jersey.
South Jersey, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But so the Battleship is in Camden, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of incentive for people to come and visit, just to see Philadelphia, to see the Olympia, and the Seaport Museum. And it's kind of cool to be able to sit on a battleship all day with your models.
Yeah.
And I think it's great publicity for, he's the curator is completely fine with vendors. If we want to have Siren Ship Model Company there, if we want to have Blue Jacket there, he's very easy to work with and is actually very accommodating. And he's like, you want to hang your club banner on the side of the ship? We'll do that. You can hang it wherever you want.
That sounds like a pretty cool guy to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's super low key, and compared to some of the other events they've held there, he was like really looking forward to seeing what we got. We are trying to open the biggest deal is they're just trying to introduce kids into like making things again, or people into like hobbies, and even if that's like Legos or other model kits, snap tight, plastic, whatever, they just want to have kids come in and see that it is a viable hobby still, and that it's cool. So,
it's going to be tough prying them away from their Xbox, but we need to try.
It always is.
The funny thing for me is that they're out there. I mean, when we did the shocking thing for me was when we did it last year, and it was just thrown together. I mean, we cultivated the idea in April and then got support for it around July. So we had basically 2 months notice for everyone. But the Coast Guard ship Eagle was there that day, and so were the Seabees. Is that them? Is that what they're called?
Yeah, the Sea Cadets and
the Sea Cadets. Yeah, and one of the kids was like 17 years old, and he was telling me that he was working on, I think it's the Ochre kit of the HMS Terror. I mean, plank on bulkhead. And I'm like, well, so there are some kids out there that are still building this stuff, and and by me posting on various model pages on Facebook and things like that, just from advertising the ModelCon, I've gotten traffic to the website and people saying in the area that, oh, I never knew you guys existed. So, for me, I think the mechanism is twofold. I think it helps the Battleship draw, and not only that, the Battleship said that they were willing to use their marketing resources to market the event. So between them and us, it should be a pretty good turnout. And the other cool thing is that, I mean, I'm not as enthusiastic about it, but he offered other areas of the ship as well. If we became too big, they tent out the aft section of the deck. But that's not as climate controlled. I don't know how close that is to the bathrooms either. Whereas the wardroom, the officers' bathrooms are like right there, and it's air conditioned and all, and it's really and not only that. I don't know if any of you guys have toured the Battleship, but when I'm done at the Battleship, I'm smoked. Climbing up and down those companionways and all. Whereas the wardroom is really like in the first 10 or 15 minutes of the tour. So everybody's still a little fresh-eyed and not quite burnt out on looking at stuff.
You need to get them before they've gotten worn out. We've got a shop in our museum, and where it used to be located was people would reach that at the end of their day, and they were done. They kind of just walk right by.
Right. Exactly. That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah. Our new location is more toward the front, and I think that's helped a great deal.
So you guys do
you brought this up because I meant to bring up in our new business section that one of the things I want our club to do is talk about having more exhibits. We had our 50th anniversary. How long ago was that now? Almost 2 years? Yeah. 2 years ago.
Almost 3.
And the first one before that was ages. I remember we had an exhibit at a library in Yorktown that was probably 12 years ago or more. It would be really helpful if we could do something in the public sector for our own gratification, you know, a public show and tell, show off, so to speak. I think that's what Gene says, tongue in cheek, or not tongue in cheek, I'm not sure. But also to try and get new members like Josh was talking about. I can remember at a very, very young age just being enthralled with anything that was in miniature. It could have been model railroad, model railroad, a boat, even a really well done dollhouse. If anyone's been to the museum in Chicago where they have all those miniature houses set up, those are fascinating. It's gonna pique somebody's interest. Maybe it's only 1 in 100 kids, but one of those kids is gonna come along. Maybe he's never seen anything done that well in miniature before, and when he sees it, it's just gonna set something off. He'll say, I want to do that. But I don't think we can rely on the people that come to the Marion Museum only to generate that kind of interest. So if you're a member of our club, just start thinking about what venues we might have available. We're not going to have we have a battleship in Norfolk, but I'm not sure they're going to be as accommodating as the one in New Jersey. But any venue you can think of, you know, just keep that in the back of your mind. Go ahead, Bill. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, I'm just going to say, how's things looking as far as reopening the museums? I'm even a little concerned about August, at least in the New Jersey metropolitan area. What's your feel as far as your museum down there?
Don't really know. What I was speaking about was just kind of an open-ended thing. I'm with your concern about your August 1st event. That's coming up pretty soon in a big metro area like that. Good luck to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really setting my heart on it. I mean, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's just better to be safe, and you know, hopefully at some point we can get back to some sort of new normal. I don't know what that looks like, but yeah, it is what it is. I mean, you know, there's not much I can do about it.
No.
But we'll have to see how it goes. I mean, I don't even know even if they open things back up, if it's even going to be a good idea, just considering that how at risk most of our population that's going to be doing this thing is. You know, they're the higher risk generation for the most part.
Well, I have to be optimistic. It's not from any knowledge. We have to be optimistic. At some point, we'll all start gathering again. Someday the museums will be open again. We'll get back to being able to meet and have exhibits again sometime. I'm not saying sometime soon, just sometime.
Greg?
Yep.
New Jersey Club, now, and again, with the virus, you know, all of this is up in the air, but we do a fair amount of exhibits every year. Some of them are repeat exhibits. We do one exhibit at National Lighthouse Museum, which is in Staten Island, which one of our members brought to us. And so that's an every year event. There, believe it or not, a farm show in Pennsville, New Jersey, South Jersey, that a few of our modelers plus folks from the Philadelphia Club. We do a show down there, right on the Delaware River. It's a beautiful day. That was canceled this year again due to the virus. They have a town in New Jersey, in Morristown, called Speedwell, which is where the engines for the first steamship Savannah were built, and we were going to do a show there, which is also canceled. But we do a fair amount of library shows as well. You might want to check some of the county libraries. We've done the Morris County Library 4 times, not in 2 or 3 years, and in that case we left the models for a month. In other cases, we'll do like a 1 or 2 day event, and then we'll have some like show and tell lecture series type of thing too. So, I guess it's just a matter of members looking at their towns, looking at libraries, just, pressing the flesh, whatever. One of the things, unfortunately, and Bill, hold your ears, but one of the things, well, Bill and I have already spoken about this, is that unfortunately, and I think like a lot of clubs, we have 45 members on the roster, and we usually have between 8 and 12 that actually do anything. Okay, so
that's weirdly accurate.
and so we do get folks that come to these events a lot, and then we get folks that just don't participate at all. So but again, you gotta. It's basically going out and just finding places where you think people might be interested. Many people didn't even know we exist. Once they found out we existed, they were really positive about it. So just something to think about.
Yeah. So you mentioned libraries. Outside of the Mariners Museum, that's the last place we did an exhibit, was in a library. I've only darkened the door of a library a few times in the last 10 years. How many people are you seeing at your library exhibits? Are people going to the library these days? Or are they getting everything online? Like
actually, we meet in a library monthly. That's our location, Roseland Library. But Tom, you can comment on the Morristown.
Yeah, with the Morristown Library, basically what they did is they let us set it up in hallways and common areas. So anybody who walked, and it was a 1 month show. So anybody who walked through the library saw them, and we actually picked up 1 or 2, members from those kind of exhibits.
So yeah, my question. So the library are getting a fair amount of foot traffic?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So Greg, I would say, look for the libraries that have a lot of sort of free programs. Like the Bronzy County Library down here in South Jersey does a ton of like free music time and story time for kids. And that way, just ways for stay-at-home moms to get their kids out of the house and do something kind of extracurricular. And, they're getting a lot of foot traffic that way.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good idea. My wife went to our main library in Newport News, and I can't remember what section she said it was. But, the shelves have just been cleared out. It's like they've gotten rid of all the books at the library. So yes, that's mainly why I asked. I started being worried that everything was moving online, but
they've kind of moved into the role of a community center too.
Yeah,
there's a lot of groups and clubs that meet in there. Like I saw a giant knitting club in there the other day for one of our local ones.
Yeah, I'll look for the activities like you mentioned. That's a good point.
We did one in our local library here in East Brunswick, and I want to say it was about 10, 15 years ago, so things may have changed. But we set up models in the common areas of the library. Then I did an actual presentation in one of the rooms. That was just a one-time done and out. And also, myself and the president of our club at the time, Jeff Fugelstadt, we actually sat in the studio with the library director and did a show that they put on the local cable channel.
Cool.
Yeah. So
what was your presentation on?
Just, model building from kits, model building from scratch, what the difference between kits and scratch build are, et cetera, et cetera. There were probably about 40 people there, and it was in an auditorium setting. So it was pretty good. But these are the kind of things. It's now, again, it was a while ago, so I don't know. I have not been to our local library in quite some time, and I do know they've done a massive rebuild there. So, and obviously with the virus situation, it's closed right now, but that's just something to consider.
Yep, thank you.
So one of the things
the only one I'd add is we did a exhibit at the Philadelphia International Airport in 2013. So they gave us a display case in the actual international airport, and we lost our models there for about 6 months. But what was really unfortunate is we didn't have the electronics. We didn't have the website as much. We didn't have the contact. I think if we had done it more recently, I think we'd have had a lot more traffic to us. But the airports too, like if you contact some of their program directors if they've got the space. I don't know. You guys got that little airport up in Hampton even. That thing would work like a champ.
Did someone speak? I could barely hear something. No. Okay.
Hey, Greg, this is Stuart Wynn.
Hey, Stuart.
We have a library in Williamsburg, and every year they are hosts to a show by local model railroad club.
Okay.
Just for a weekend. They advertise it pretty heavily, and they get a lot of traffic from, unfortunately, very young kids, but other people too. But you might consider something like that, either as an add-on to it or something separate.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds good. You actually get young people coming through?
Oh, scads of them.
Because Williamsburg, I think of more the retirement community.
You come to that show, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
The science
Where was it held?
It's the Williamsburg Library. They have one downtown, and they have one out on the northern western part of town, and the one out in the country has got a lot of room in it, and that's where they have it. They also have a reconstructed caboose, railroad caboose in the yard, and that they've got a permanent HO railroad exhibit in that, and that draws some traffic too.
Yeah, the Science Museum in Richmond draws a huge amount of traffic, and they do a big model railroad show in November or December each year. I wonder if they'd be up for model ships.
You volunteering?
I can check when it opens. It's a quarter mile from my house.
Okay.
Well, I would say that, maybe the silver lining to this whole COVID situation is, and I'm kind of a techie guy, so I guess I'm a little surprised that I guess I hadn't thought of this. I didn't realize it was so economically accessible, I guess. But continuing on with using Zoom, even when we start getting together again, and maybe providing access to certain individuals that express an interest to sit in on our meetings. And I'm still trying to think about how interactive that's going to be in terms of, does somebody monitor that meeting if people are sort of chatting in? But, there's still plenty of areas that aren't close to anywhere where clubs meet. Like if somebody in Toms River, New Jersey, if they have an interest in it, well, that's easily an hour to Philly and an hour to the Roseland Library for the New Jersey club. So, I mean, sometimes the distance is still prohibitive of people being able to join meetings, or maybe they just don't feel well that day, or, whatever reason. And
no, we talked,
Josh,
we talked about, in our club, talked about continuing to do a Zoom meeting maybe once or twice a year, even after the lockdown is over, to capture the fact that we have remote members. We have members in Colorado. We've got members in Florida and such. So we picked those up. We also talked about inviting a guest speaker who would not necessarily make the trek to Roseland, New Jersey, but could easily share slides, video, or whatever presentation material, and have a lecture to the club. So it offers that possibility. And like you say, you folks in Hampton Roads Club, you're more than welcome to come and join a New Jersey meeting. We'd love to have you as guests. So it fosters that type of thing. And just the suggestion, I forget, maybe it was David that made it earlier, about even starting to share some of the costs of running a club, like with this particular Zoom meeting, I thought was excellent. And that's the type of things, we can build on as well. I'm sure there's other things.
Yep, that sounds good.
Actually, I mean, that's probably one of the more exciting things for me. And Bill will tell you that I've darkened the New Jersey club's door a few times and like to drop in on their meetings. And I was actually very excited that I got this.
In fact, you guys were you bought the most stuff at our last auction, so you're welcome anytime.
No, we didn't. It was one of your new members, wasn't it? He was the one that.
Yeah, but you were up there.
Well, you guys keep selling good stuff. We'll buy it.
No, but I love the the mutual cross, just seeing what other people are working on. I mean, I'm a little bit obsessed and can't seem to get enough of this stuff. So I love seeing what other people are working on and different techniques, and just building models is not like playing soccer. It's a pretty solitary environment most of the time. So and it's most of the time, if I talk to someone randomly about it, it's never like, oh yeah, I do that too. So by the time I get into a group of guys or people that are doing this too, I'm chomping at the bit to share my passion for it.
Anything else?
Real quick, as part of the COVID thing recently, I just heard from Blue Jacket. The owner of Blue Jacket just got interviewed by the Wall Street Journal. So it must be a slow news week when that happens. So yeah,
Is that Nick?
Yeah, Nick got interviewed by the Wall Street Journal. I was like, no, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, he's pretty proud of it. Though.
I tell you what, COVID saved me a bunch of money this year because I always walk back with some sort of a kit or something from the Northeast Conference. If not at the conference, at our little after conference party at the hobby shop that we always seem to do now.
Absolutely. But yeah, look for Nick in the Wall Street Journal.
I will.
We're talking about exhibits and whether or not we'd be able to hold them. And I was wondering how many people we'd actually get through a library or whatever venue it is. I think another side effect of COVID is that once things do get reopened, people are going to have such cabin fever. They're going to be swarming out to do just about anything. So we might see, if we hold an exhibit, we might see a lot of traffic, no matter where it is, as long as it's advertised well enough.
And the other thing is, I think people are going to be so sick of Netflix and HBO at some point. I think they might actually have some room in their lives for a hobby at that point.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe that could be a selling point too, because I could tell you what, I mean, the one side effect of quarantine is, I got all the excuse in the world now to sit at my model and work on it. I mean, I've made some stunning progress on the Pearl over the past month or so.
I, on the other hand, have put about 60 hours of business work in last week. So it's not slowing me down at all, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Can't break away.
Oh, there's a cure for that, Greg.
Retirement? Not quite there yet. Not quite there yet.
Well,
you guys are selling me on it. Everybody keeps dropping the retirement gig.
Word.
You're still too young, Greg.
Yeah. Not the youngest guy in the club anymore.
Who is the youngest guy
in the club for years and years and years and years. And finally someone joined that was younger than me. And I thought, finally. And then I realized it's not that we got someone young to join. It's just that I got that much older, because when he joined, he was older than I was when I had joined.
Well, we got pretty lucky. How old are Todd? How old are Curatolo's kids? One's like 14, and the other one's like what, 12?
Yeah, it's got to be pretty close, and they're good kids.
Yeah, so we actually got a member who brought, you know, he got his kids involved, and it's kind of cool. They bring they tend to bring a lot of Lego models that they've made that day, or some sort of small model that they kind of quickly glue together. But a lot of enthusiasm, and it's really great to see some new generation coming in. Their dad actually makes some pretty interesting paper models, and not you know, that was kind of new to me in terms of using that medium. We don't see a lot of paper models coming through our club.
I always looked at paper models as a mental illness, but he makes it look good.
We have currently one paper model maker, and we used to have another. He unfortunately passed away. But some of them are actually fairly interesting. And it's a great way, I think, a great way to introduce a kid to it. I mean, you don't have to buy a bunch of tools. All you have to know how to do is use a knife and some glue. So it's like a gateway drug, perhaps.
And for him, it's like, you know, he's like, you screw it up, you just reprint it.
Yeah. We had a guy do a presentation at one of our meetings recently. Anyone remember his name? They can chime in. But he works at the embassy, I think, Polish embassy. But he works with
the Polish Air Force fellow, wasn't he? Air Force attaché or something?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But he works with a couple back in Poland that produces the kits, and it was amazing, some of the stuff they were doing. It's gotten higher tech.
I don't know who. Well, this guy who in our club, his name's Albert Curatolo. He sent me a few build logs, and this one woman, I think she was in Poland, made like the Victory out of paper, and it looked really impressive. Like, it didn't look like paper, and just the amount of detail that she had, it blew me away. I mean, fully rigged, everything, all out of paper.
If we're talking about the same people,
we might be. Yeah, we might be. I was impressed. My problem with paper is that, you know, you spend so much time. I mean, for me, I feel like I give birth every time I make a model, and every time I jump into one, I feel like a brand new modeler. I don't know if anybody else experiences that, but by the time I get around to making a hull again, it's like, how do I do this again? You know, to do that with paper, I just one of my motivations is like, well, this is made out of wood. If well taken care of, it could last 100 years. I wonder how long paper stands up to the test of time.
Well, yeah, you can't compare the two. You have to appreciate them for what they are.
Yeah. There's a guy on Model Ship World. He's actually one of the admins, and he was making a paper locomotive that looked really interesting.
So, combining our discussion on paper models with exhibits, I mentioned we had our 50th anniversary thing at the museum. We did that thing at the library 12 or more years ago. In between, we were invited to take part in what they called it Build Fest. It was geared toward kids. They were trying to get them involved in building whatever. And we showed up, and it was disappointing how many people came through, but you know, we did our best. We took at our model stand at the museum, who is it that provides the paper kits of the monitor? Is it Noah?
It was Noah.
Pardon?
It was Noah.
Noah.
I don't know if they are anymore.
Yeah, well, I think we still have some. But they gave us a very simple paper model kit of the monitor. And so we took a stack of them there, and I tried to get people that were wandering by to start working on one, or, you know, right there in the exhibit. We got a couple people to sit down.
We have I guess, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but we have a similar, you know, active exhibit in this ISM called the Ship Shack, where you can build your project, and interact with the guests. But one of our members, Mike Weaver, is really prolific. He does it just pretty much every Sunday. And one day we have that full boat shop that's in the museum where they actually work on real boats. And he went in there and played with their bandsaw one day and made like small battleship kits out of their spare wood. That was like 20 or 30, kind of like, they look like, toddler blocks kind of thing to that, real abstract, but just for something for them to sit down and quickly build in 15 or 20, 10 or 15 minutes and then walk out with something.
We had one of our members volunteered to put together a bunch of kits. It's like a tugboat or something like that, similar thing. A few blocks you put together, paint it up. Got to get them started somewhere.
Right. Yeah, and then if, they take it home and it's a souvenir for their visit, and then you never know, it might plant the seed.
Serve as a reminder anyway.
Right.
All right, cool. Well, running up on 2 hours. Maybe we should wrap things up. Unless anyone else has more to say.
No,
Don't let me stop you. Don't let me stop you. If you've got something to say, do it.
Just great meeting. Thanks for inviting us.
No, it did work very well.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks a lot, Greg.
Yep.
It's nice seeing you all. Nice meeting you all.
Enjoy the cruise, Gene.
Likewise.
Good job.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
So, Greg, where will you be broadcasting from next month?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Denmark. I have some good.
So I'll be, if you want, I'll send out the link to the Philly Club meeting this Thursday.
Yeah, I got the link to the New Jersey one a couple hours too late. Hadn't been checking my email. I missed that one, but I'd like to attend. Please do.
Okay,
right.
yeah, well, sure you get it coming up in May. Last Tuesday in May. And yeah, Josh, if you could send us a link to I'd love to join the Philly Club.
Yeah, it'll be this Thursday night, and I'm gonna try to get the link out.
Send it to Tom, and then Tom can get it to folks if you want.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice to see you, new user.
Nice.
Hi, John.
I want to follow you on the show and tell.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining.
All right, guys.
You're welcome.
Good to see everybody.
Appreciate it.
Everybody.
Good seeing everybody.
All right, y'all take care.
All right. Bye-bye. We'll talk later.
Thanks for the link. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
No problem. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yep. See you again next month, I hope.
Absolutely.
All
Good
right.
deal.
Bye-bye.
Take care.